Hi, everyone. Hey, I want to make sure my sound is on. Yes, I'm on. Okay, you guys, I have recorded this like 10 times. No kidding. Trying to get this. It's just so weird. I'm not used to talking to you via video, or I'm not used to you just looking at my face and that's it. This is so strange, but we're going to get through it. And I'm excited to be able to meet with you again. And you guys, none of this is going to be easy, and none of this is going to be just super simple. I know that we're going to have some rocky roads, we're going to have some bumps and some frustrations and struggles, but we will get through this together. I know we will. If you guys, first and foremost, have any concerns or any questions or anything that I can help you with, please don't hesitate to talk to me. Send me an email, let me know what's going on, and I will do my best to help you. And if I can't help you, then I can put you on the path to somebody who is able to answer your question, okay? So it's gonna be a little bit crazy at first and maybe a little awkward to watch me on camera because I don't do this very often, but we're going to give it a shot and we'll get started. So today, before we get started with the lesson, I'm going to share, let me get my glasses on real quick. I'm going to share my screen with you. I love this Zoom because I can do all kinds of fun things. So one of the things I can do is share my screen. So I'm going to share this with you. This is your Schoology. And I know that you've seen this because you were here. I just want to make sure that you understand. I'm leaving third quarter open because we had one assignment in your chemistry, your chemical reactions unit, and that was the scientific argument that we did at the end of chapter 1. And most of you got that turned in. It was wonderful, 5 out of 5, great job. Some of you were absent the day that we turned it in and you didn't get it in. So I'm going to leave that open, and if you want to go ahead and submit that, then let me know because I don't receive a notification when assignments are turned in. And so just let me know and I can go in real quick and grade it for you. And some of you maybe didn't do as well as what you'd hoped to do. I left you some feedback. So when you look at your submissions, make sure you look at my feedback and then you can try it again and then let me know and I'll regrade it, and then that can be your final grade for that. So as soon as I've got all of those in, and I think Mr. Johnson said the Thursday before Easter break, spring break, not spring break, Easter break. That Thursday prior to that is the deadline for any third quarter grades that you want to redo or submit if they're missing. So keep that in mind. Once that deadline is passed, then I will unpublish that and you won't see it anymore. But you found this with the e-learning materials. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Right down here, this is my office hours. And every core teacher, so your language arts, reading, science, math, social studies, we're taking 1 day a week and we're going to meet 2 times that 1 day for what we call office hours, or just a way for us to kind of touch base with you guys face to face. And so we're going to do that via Zoom. And my office hours are going to be Mondays from 10 to 10:30, and then again 1 to 1:30. And you don't have to stay the whole half hour by any means. But if you have a question about science, if you've got, something that you've done at home and you want to talk about it, whatever, then you can log on real quick and we can talk. I'm going to take my iPad, and I brought Big Poppy home, and I'm going to have like a turtle cam, and so you guys can see Poppy and where I've got him set up now. And I know you guys like to watch Poppy, and I'm sure he misses you too. So you guys can kind of catch up with Poppy and find out what he's doing. But those will be during my office hours. And I'm, like I said, Monday from 10 to 10:30, and then again 1 to 1:30. So I hope to see you guys in there. All right, so let's go ahead and get going with today's lesson. When you guys went into your e-learning materials, you saw that you're in the week of March 26th. And then you just looked at today's folder, which is Thursday, March 26th. One thing that's a little bit different is that I've decided to go ahead and add my standards at the very top up here. We are grading, not really grading, but we are basing our lessons on these standards, obviously. And so I thought it was important that you guys knew exactly which standards I was addressing in each day's lesson. So I'll let you look at those. And then our objective is here in our activity. So I'll just go ahead and read the objective. Today, the student will review key concept ideas about properties of matter on both a macro and molecular scale, and students will apply previous knowledge of phase changes to answer a discussion question in Schoology. Our activity today is you're watching the video, and then you're going to complete the discussion question. And when you open up the folder, you'll see the discussion question that I have for you guys on what kind of property, or I'm sorry, what kind of physical changes were made when I made nachos. Nachos. You know the good thing about working from home? It's when you're hungry, you can stop what you're doing anytime and go grab yourself a snack. And I did that. So I made a video and I want to share it with you. So I'm going to stop this one and share another one with you. And I want you guys to see what I did. So I made some nachos. I've got a nice little pile of chips, and to the chips I added the cheese. And you know that cheese came on a block. I had to grate the cheese. And then of course, in order to have delicious nachos, you have to have melted cheese. So I had to put it in the microwave and melt it for a little bit. And when that was all done, oh, it was all nice and warm and gooey. And this is salsa from our favorite restaurant. You can see all the little bits of tomato, and there's peppers and onions and all kinds of spices in there. And I like cilantro. I love cilantro, fresh cilantro on my nachos. And so the best way to cut that up, because you've got all the different leaves, you just roll it up and then you take a knife and cut it. Oh, and it smells so good. It smells like lemony, and oh, it's so good. And I just sprinkled my cilantro on top of my nachos. Pretty cool. Now you may be asking yourselves, why is Mrs. Clayton showing me a video of nachos, of her making nachos? I have a reason for that. Let me show you something else first. So we need to review phase change. Keep those nachos in the back of your brain. We'll come up with them again here in a second. So just a reminder, we've got some key concepts on phase change, physical changes, and properties of matter. So first of all, do you guys remember solids? Solids keep their shape. So for an example is the little pictures of the ice cubes there. So the solids keep their shape. The molecules that make up the water, H2O, will stay together. They move in place. And because they're so close together, they have very little freedom of movement. And because their freedom of movement is so little, kinetic energy is so little. Okay? Now, moving on to liquids. Liquids take the shape of the container. Glass of water. So you can see the ice holds its shape. This is a spur of the moment demonstration. I wasn't even expecting to do this. The ice cubes hold their shape and the water takes on the shape of the container. It's not all the way full, it's about right here. So the water molecules will move around each other. They have a little bit more freedom of movement than a solid does. And so therefore they have a little bit increased kinetic energy. Now, moving on to the next phase, that's a gas. The gas molecules fill the container. So imagine if you put water in a water balloon. It's just going to put, like if you just fill it up halfway, it'll hold the bottom. It'll take on the shape of the bottom of the balloon, but that's it. Whereas if you blow air into a balloon, it fills the whole container. That's a gas. Gas molecules are going to want to move away from each other. So you've got solids, liquids, and then gases move away from each other. These have the highest freedom of movement, and therefore they have the highest kinetic energy. Okay? Now, let's remind ourselves of the properties of matter. There are thousands of properties of matter, thousands. But some that we've talked about in class is the color, phase, whether something's a solid, liquid, or a gas, the texture. Do you remember when we were comparing the different substances, and some of them look like powder, and some of them you could see they looked granular? That's texture. Odor. Oh, we couldn't smell anything in class because so far we've only been looking at chemicals, but you could waft that. But also think about my nachos, like that cilantro and the salsa. It definitely has a distinctive odor. Flavor and solubility. You remember what solubility is? Solubility is the ability for a substance to dissolve in water. And there are hundreds and hundreds of other properties of matter, but those are just some examples. Now, a physical change is when the form of matter is altered, but the one substance is not transformed into another substance. In other words, there's no rearrangement of the atomic structure. We're not rearranging the atoms into different groupings. It stays the same. Take a look at this diagram. Just a reminder for you. If I have something that starts off as a solid, like my ice cubes in my glass, if I'm adding thermal energy or energy goes into that system, then a phase change will start to occur, and that will be called melting. That's the melting point. Enough thermal energy is added into that system, the kinetic energy will increase, and then it will go from a solid to a liquid. And then if thermal energy is continued to be added into that system, kinetic energy is going to increase, freedom of motion will become greater, we'll have a phase change called evaporation, and then that next state of matter is gas. If you flip that and you remove energy from the system, then we'll go from a gas to a liquid to a solid. And the states from gas to liquid to solid, the change, the phase change is called condensation from gas to liquid, and then freezing from liquid to a solid. And that's when energy is being removed from that system. Okay, so I need you guys to give me some feedback. Go back to Schoology and answer the discussion question. I want you to think back to the video that I showed you with my nachos, and I want you to think of if you can identify one physical change that you observed when I was making my nachos. Not chemical, physical. So the atoms, the atomic structure cannot be rearranged. The form has just changed. Can you think? Good luck. I'll be watching to see what you write down. Bye, you guys.